What's going on, friends? Logan Myers here from Cinefellas.com, and I just checked out Jeremy Saulnier's new film, Green Room. And I'm going to tell you, I've been really excited for this movie for a long time, just from the cast and just reading about it online, seeing the trailer. And it just looked very dark and something demented about it. Something felt off. And I was right. I went and checked it out over the weekend, and it's a different premise. It's something different we haven't seen. You know, you have Anton Yelchin. He's in a punk band, and they're basically playing some gigs out west. They're broke, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do. So they play this gig, and then they find out there's a show in Portland, and it's a neo-Nazi kind of venue. And what I really liked about this movie is because I felt like I could relate to it. Not just the horror aspect, but the punk rock aspect. I grew up playing in punk rock bands, and you know, you're broke. You're playing gig to gig. You know, the money you're making is to get to the next gig, and essentially that's what's happening here with Anton Yelchin and his group of friends, their band. They're broke. They're trying to get home from DC. They're out west, and they're literally living off pennies and trying to get home because this tour is just not going anywhere. So they meet up with this guy. And he has a small gig that they played at, and obviously nobody showed up. They made no money. They're pissed off. They want to get home. But he's like, you know what? My cousin lives in Portland. He runs a venue. It's a paying gig. You know, as long as you get there, you'll make some money and you can get home. So, of course, they do that. And kind of the beginning, first act of the movie is them playing and getting to the show and showing how they're struggling, worn down and tired, and they're doing what they have to do to get home, and that's where they end up in Portland. And it's a Nazi venue. They show up, they're not really sure what's going on. They're playing to a group of people that they're not comfortable with, as anybody would be, you know, playing to a whole bunch of Nazis and skinheads. And they get there, they unload their gear, and they set up to play, and everything seems, you know, somewhat normal. You know, just like load in, load out, play your set, get the fuck out of here. And the first song they play at this Nazi venue is Nazi Punk's Fuck Off by Dead Kennedys, which, you know, there's a lot of great music in this movie and a lot of old school punk rock music I grew up listening to, and it was really awesome. But anyways, they play this song, and it really pisses off all the Nazis and the skinheads in the crowd, and they're like throwing beer bottles at them, and they're like, holy shit, what are we doing? We're not thinking. So let's play this gig and get the fuck out of here, get their money. So that's what happens. They play the gig and they get their money, but of course something must take place for this to set the rest of the movie up, right? So this band, more importantly, Anton Yelchin, walks into the green room, the back room in the venue, and comes across a murder scene, basically. And he like freaks out. You know, if he would have played it cool, it would have been okay. They would have been fine. But he freaks out. He's going to call 911. And that really, really pisses off the Nazis. And they're like, hell no, you guys are not going anywhere. You just called the cops. We're going to keep you here hostage until this kind of clears up and, you know, everything's cool. So this punk band is like freaking out. They're held hostage essentially in this back room. It's locked up with a guy holding them at gunpoint. And he's like, shut the fuck up. You're not going anywhere. Staying here. You know, you've witnessed something that you shouldn't have seen. But it also kind of feels like it was set up for them to be there, and then for them to get held hostage and kind of put this whole murder sequence onto them. That's what I thought, at least. I don't think they really ever answer that, but you know, they're held hostage, and they're all freaking out and sweaty and trying to figure out a way to get out of there, you know, break through the ceiling or the floor, and they're just trying to keep it cool. But you know, things kind of go a different route, I should say. That's when we get introduced to Sir Patrick Stewart, the one and only Professor Xavier. He was great in this movie. He was phenomenal. It was an odd role for him. I wasn't really sure how they got him in this movie, but I'm not complaining. He was great. He was a great kind of scary villain, which we haven't seen a lot of. He's the head of this organization, this commune, this neo-Nazi, whatever you want to call it, venue. And he's aware of what's going on, and He's like, clear out the fucking place, get all these you know, punk rock kids out of here. The concert's over, and he's aware of this whole murder scene, and his red lace workers, I guess you can call them, are like, yeah, these kids, this punk band knows what's going on. They saw the murder, they saw the dead body. So what the hell are we gonna do with them? So of course he's like, you know, playing kind of the good guy, I guess you can say, and he's like, all right, don't freak out. We'll figure it out. Just hand over the gun, and you know, we'll figure this out. But you know that's not what's really gonna happen. You know, he's up to something, and he's probably wants to get rid of him. You know, and Patrick Stewart makes his appearance in the back room, the green room where this band is held hostage at by one of the big security guys with a gun. And they end up, you know, tackling him and using him against, you know, the Nazi group and saying like, no, we're gonna fuck him up if you don't let us go. And there was just like, this is where all the gore comes into play. I mean, this movie was fucking disgusting at parts. It made my stomach hurt. Like, I don't have a weak stomach. I love horror. I love gore. And there were some scenes that I'm just like, I was holding it in. It was super hard to keep my composure because it just made me feel. It made me feel anxious. I was like the edge of my seat. I was like sweaty. I'm like, holy shit, this is like super, you know, 70s style grindhouse flick. Basically, Anton Yelchin is like, all right, we need to get the fuck out of here. He's trying to make a deal with Patrick Stewart's character. And of course that doesn't go as it should. And there's some limbs cut off along the way. There's a part where one of the guys gets his stomach slit open. There's a whole bunch of fighting dogs they bring into play. The Nazi group brings in these fighting dogs to go after the kids, and it's just like them mauling and like ripping off flesh, and it was just so crazy and so awesome at the same time. I'm like, totally took a 180 in the flick. It was kind of slow in the second act. It really picks up and it really gets you going and makes you like not want to leave your seat because you're so into it, but you're feeling so uneasy, I guess the word is. And the rest of the movie is essentially, you know, this band is trying to get the fuck out of there, and they're trying to use their heads and figure out the best way to go about this. But really, it's the Nazi group is like, you're surrounded by guns and a whole bunch of crazy fuckers with like machetes and knives and dogs. It's like, how the hell are you gonna get out of that situation? And this is where Imogen Poots, great actress by the way, her and Anton Yelchin were in the Fright Night remake. They have a really great dynamic chemistry on camera, and they really worked well together. She happened to be there and was thrown into the room with them because she witnessed the murder. And she knows these people. She knows these Nazis and what they're fucking capable of doing, and knows that they have all these guns, and she's trying to help them out. And she was like probably the one character that had her head on straight and was thinking clearly, like, what are you guys doing? You guys are making things worse. You guys are kind of stupid. Like, this could have been a lot better outcome, but you guys are just acting stupid, and things will not go your way, and people one by one will start getting basically killed off. So as they finally get out of the room, they find different ways to get out, and of course they can't get out because they're surrounded everywhere by these crazy fuckers. And one of the main focal points of this movie is this neo-Nazi punk that works at this venue, and he was trying to leave the organization, him and his wife or girlfriend, and she was actually one that gets murdered because you can't leave this group, you know, you're Nazi for life, you can't get out of it. So as he finds out she got murdered by his own people, by Patrick Stewart and his group of red laces, he's like, fuck this. So he goes in to try to help them out, and you know, obviously things don't turn out the way they should, and it's like more death, more gore. Who's gonna get shot? Who's gonna get stabbed? And it was like, holy shit! There's no hope. There's no way to get out of here. There's no way to survive these people because they're fucking insane and crazy. And Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots, it's an awesome name to say. You know, maybe they come out on top, but there's still some questions unanswered, and that was the only thing that really annoyed me. For being an hour and a half movie, I mean, so much happened, so much action, so much intensity, so much gore. I guess the only complaint I had for this film was the very ending. It kind of just ended. You know, there's still so many questions unanswered, I guess. Another awesome, you know, aspect of this film is a lot of greens and blues, hence Green Room, to give it that uneasiness and that kind of feel of Oregon, of Portland, Oregon, where it's just like dreary and rainy, and it really sets the tone of this film, and it's done quite well, I would say. The camera work is phenomenal. The score, I said earlier, is great. A lot of punk rock music. And Jeremy Saulnier, I thought, did an excellent job directing this. This is probably my favorite movie of 2016 thus far. It was just something I was looking forward to for a long time, with just hearing the premise of a punk rock band meets horror with Patrick Stewart. I'm like, how can you not want to see that? And I was definitely, you know, I was pleased with the outcome. I really enjoyed it. I walked out of the theater feeling nauseous and uneasy. I'm like, when a movie does that, you know, it's a good thing. It's like you feel gross and you feel like you want to throw up, but, you know, I felt satisfied at the same time, and it just was a great film from start to finish. It was definitely one of the highly anticipated films, indie films as well, an independent film, of 2016, and it met my expectations. I really loved it. I highly recommend it to all our followers and friends. Go see it. You will not be disappointed. I am giving Green Room a 4.5 out of 5 hair pieces. Cheers!